They asked me to step outside. Not politely. Not discreetly. It was more like a tap on the shoulder, followed by an awkward whisper. Could you wait near the coat check, Maya? The award ceremony is full. I stepped back, out of the ballroom's golden glow, heels sinking slightly into the plush carpet of the corridor. I could still hear the music. Still hear the laughter. Still hear my boss, Ava Camden, accepting my award. The plaque said Innovation in Predictive Product Design, for a feature we called PulseSense, a behavior learning engine that had tripled our app's retention rate. I had spent 6 months on the core model. I had named the damn thing. But Ava had smiled in every board meeting. Ava had pitched it to the investors. And Ava, apparently, was now the one getting the crystal trophy with my name nowhere in sight. I didn't cry. That's the part that surprises people the most when I tell this story. Before I dive into my story, I want to know, where are you watching from today? And as you listen, let me know in the comments how this story makes you feel, or if you've ever experienced something similar. Your thoughts mean a lot to me, and I'd love to hear your perspective. I didn't scream. Didn't storm in and throw a drink. I sat, opened my phone, and typed an email that began. Dear Board of Novominds, I am formally documenting my withdrawal from all ongoing contributions tied to the PulseSense architecture. And that's when it began. 3 years earlier, I had walked into Novominds like it was the promised land. A young, scrappy AI firm where ideas mattered more than titles. Where I could finally use my background in behavioral psychology and data modeling to build something, not just interpret it. I wasn't flashy. I didn't network well. But I built things that worked. Things that sold. I remember my first success. A retention model I built in the evenings after hours, because no one else thought churn prediction was fun. But it worked. It predicted uninstalls with 83% accuracy. We implemented my model, and the marketing team thought it was magic. They never asked how it worked. Just clapped, nodded, and promised they'd loop me in. They never did. By year 2, I was leading silent revolutions inside our app, smarter notifications, dynamic pricing tests, frictionless onboarding flows, all stitched together by models that I built in code nobody else bothered to read. But Ava Camden read enough to know they were valuable. Award night was supposed to be different. Don't forget to wear something sparkly, Ava had joked earlier that week. I have a feeling you'll be smiling a lot. I actually believed her. That was my mistake. Outside the ballroom, I stared at the live feed through a glass wall. There she was, standing under the soft light, thanking the team. Not me. The team. She even quoted one of my slides. Word for word. Data is empathy at scale, she said. That was mine. People cheered. Flashbulbs popped. And I sat there, half lit by hallway sconces, a disposable champagne flute in one hand and my phone in the other. I didn't know it yet, but the moment I hit send on that email, my life took a turn no award could have given me. The next morning, I didn't show up for the all-hands meeting. Instead, I sent another email, this time to one of our investors. Then to 2 clients. Then to a journalist I'd met during a panel last fall. I attached files. Time-stamped commits. Git logs. Architecture outlines. Internal slide decks, dated before Ava ever touched the project. And screenshots of Slack messages where I asked to be included in the pitch, and was ghosted. I didn't write anything angry. Just facts. By noon, the whispers had started. By 3 p.m., my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. And by 6 p.m., Novominds had locked me out of every internal system. I took a walk, bought myself a slice of tiramisu from the cafe down the street, and started drafting the outline for my own platform. One where behavioral models would actually be understood, not just exploited. I called it Clear Loop. No team. No office. Just me, a laptop, and a whiteboard in my living room. But I had something better than investors. I had a story. And people were listening. I never expected a reply. Not really. That email, the one I sent while sipping warm champagne in the hallway, wasn't meant to start a war. It was meant to end one. The silent one. The slow, eroding kind of battle you fight every day when you're invisible inside your own success. When your name is in the commit history, but never in the conversation. But wars don't end quietly, especially not when your silence has been profitable to the wrong people for too long. At 9:14 a.m. the next morning, I got a text from someone on the compliance team. They're trying to contain it. PR loop. Ava's freaking out. At 10:02 a.m., Wired Tech Daily pinged me on LinkedIn. Any chance we could talk about Novomind's innovation claims? They already had the subject line from my email. Someone had leaked it. By noon, 3 more journalists had reached out. At 1:37 p.m., Novominds posted a tweet. We value the contributions of all our team members. An internal review is underway. And just like that, they had confirmed everything without meaning to. That night, I opened my laptop. A headline stared back at me. Engineer claims Novominds took credit for groundbreaking predictive tech. By Clara Duveau. I read the first paragraph twice. They called me a soft-spoken data architect with a reputation for clean systems and cleaner silence. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They even quoted one of my Slack messages. The one I'd written late at night, months earlier, after getting sidelined from yet another product demo. It's fine. I don't need credit, I just want it to work. I had believed that. Back then. But the world wasn't ignoring me anymore. 3 days later, a seed stage fund offered me a modest startup grant. No strings attached. No NDA. They just said, we believe in people who can see the world 5 moves ahead. I didn't even hesitate. Clearloop became a real thing, a legal entity with a bank account and a domain name. And then something else happened. Novomind's biggest client, an e-commerce giant I had personally helped optimize, quietly reached out. We'd love to understand your side of the story, they said. I told them the truth. About PulseSense. About the discarded test models. About Ava's pitches that were 80% my work and 100% her smile. I showed them an old mirror prototype I'd never shipped, something Novominds refused to fund. They were stunned. Within a week, the client put their renewal on hold. Within two more clients followed. By week 3, Ava Camden stepped down for personal reasons. It wasn't just about revenge. I didn't want to see them burn. I wanted clarity. I wanted to reclaim the space my name had been erased from. And that clarity, it was beginning to ripple. Recruiters started calling me. Investors started watching. Former colleagues sent quiet messages of support. You were always the brain. We all knew. Wish I had spoken up sooner. I'm proud of you. Funny. No one was proud of me before the email. But the real shift came on a random Thursday afternoon. I was sitting in a cafe, editing wireframes for Clearloop's pilot tool, when my phone rang. Blocked number. Maya. It was Ray Brenner, Novomind's COO. This is uncomfortable, I'm sure. But I wanted to ask, hypothetically, if you might consider consulting with us on a reconciliation effort. I let the silence stretch. Reconciliation. I repeated. Yes. We'd like to acknowledge certain oversights. The board is very open to, Ray, I said. You mean you want me to fix the house you lit on fire? With my own matches? He cleared his throat. Not exactly. I smiled to myself. I think we're done here. And I hung up. That night, I updated my Clearloop roadmap, expanded the pilot, added 2 new case studies, including anonymized data from the exact system Novominds was now trying to rebuild. My inbox? Overflowing. I wasn't chasing validation anymore. I was the validation. I walked past Novominds headquarters a few days later. They had removed Ava's name from the glass doors. A sign hung in the lobby window. Innovation starts with listening. Too late. They never listened. But now? The whole world was listening to me. Success doesn't feel how I thought it would. It didn't come with fireworks or standing ovations. It came quietly like a door unlocking. A weight leaving the chest. Clearloop's first real launch day happened in my kitchen. No ribbon. No clinking glasses. Just me, barefoot on the tile floor, watching my server logs blink to life. I wasn't trying to build an empire. I was trying to build truth. An analytics engine that made behavioral predictions without manipulation. Models that didn't just maximize engagement, but respected people's attention, too. People thought I was naive. They said, that's not how this industry works. Ethical doesn't sell. You're building art in a battlefield. Maybe I was. But at least the art was mine. Clearloop's first tool, SignalStack, was a behavioral classifier. It could flag when users were clicking out of confusion, not intent. When they were doom scrolling instead of exploring. It didn't just track data. It interpreted meaning. And clients noticed. A sustainability platform picked us up for a beta. Then a language learning app. Then a nonprofit trying to measure real user retention without resorting to dark patterns. It was small money. But honest. Each time a client said this actually feels clean, I felt something I never felt at Novominds. Ownership. Meanwhile, Novominds stumbled. They launched PulseSense 2.0 with great fanfare. It was unstable, bloated, obviously rushed. The code? I recognized parts of it. Clumsy replicas of what I'd once written at 2 a.m., powered by espresso and heartbreak. Their launch flopped. An investor pulled out. And then something unexpected happened. They started copying me. Not just my code. My language. Phrases I used in public talks, data empathy, signal over noise, user dignity, suddenly appeared in their blog posts. It was laughable. Like watching someone try to wear your skin after they've thrown you out. I got an invitation to speak at a UX ethics panel in Amsterdam. Then another in Berlin. Then one from Stanford. People didn't want just product. They wanted the story. The refusal. The fire. They wanted to know how a quiet, near-invisible strategist had said no loud enough to collapse a giant. And I told them. Every word. Somewhere along the way, a strange shift happened. I stopped waiting for permission. Permission to take up space. To be seen. To lead. I hired 2 interns. Then a designer. Then a machine learning engineer who said, I left Google to work with someone who still believes data is sacred. My little rebellion had become a movement. And then just when I thought the past was behind me, Ava Camden came back. It started as a comment on a podcast I was featured in. Much respect to Maya, but innovation is rarely the work of one person. That was her. No name. No direct reference. Just a passive-aggressive flicker of presence. Then came the interview. Ava reappeared in a tech media roundtable, rebranded as an independent innovation consultant. She spoke of the team behind PulseSense, how she had learned to delegate and trust data experts, and how she was mentoring women in product now. It made me sick. I debated saying something publicly, correcting the record, reigniting the fire. But then something incredible happened. I didn't have to. A comment under the article. Pretty rich coming from the woman who locked the actual builder outside the award show. And another. We see you, Maya. Keep going. And another. Novaminds tried to bury her. She built a ladder from the dirt. Clearloop hit 50 clients that quarter. We opened a small office near the waterfront. Glass walls. No nameplates. Equal desks. No corner office. A space built on clarity. And for the first time in years, I felt something like peace. Not because I'd won, but because I had chosen myself, over applause, over comfort, over the false promise of being included. On the office wall we hung a quote. If you're not invited to the table, build your own with better lighting. I didn't need a trophy. I had architecture. I had truth. And outside that glass door, Novaminds was watching. Still chasing what they never understood. Clearloop wasn't just mine anymore. That realization hit me on a Tuesday morning, just before sunrise, when I walked into our office and found 3 engineers already sketching ideas on the glass wall. Not because I'd asked them to, because they wanted to. They weren't optimizing for virality. They weren't pitching for praise. They were building things that mattered. And for the first time in my professional life, I wasn't the only one who saw value where others saw silence. We were a company of people who'd been told they were too quiet, too technical, too radical. Not ready. We were the ones they'd ignored. Lena, our systems designer, had once been a finalist for an internal award, until her VP submitted the deck under his own name. Same story. Kareem, our lead data ethicist, had been pushed out of his last job for raising red flags about biased algorithms. Same pattern. June, our product manager, had quietly rebuilt an entire onboarding experience for a travel startup, only to be told her tone didn't suit leadership. Novaminds had taken my voice, but I'd built a team out of echoes. We launched a new initiative, the Quiet Builders Fund, a microgrant program for underrepresented technologists with unfinished ideas. No deck needed. No shiny pitch. Just, what's the problem? How would you fix it? Who is it for? We funded 12 projects in the first quarter, and suddenly, Clearloop was no longer just a tool. It was a platform. Not for performance. For restoration. Of course, not everyone was thrilled. A tech podcast host, someone I once admired, accused me of playing martyr for clout. It's easy to criticize the system after you've left it behind, he said. But change happens from within. I remember pausing the episode, sitting with that sentence. He was right about one thing. I had left it behind. But not because I gave up. Because I saw what was broken, and no one inside the room wanted to fix it. So I built another room. Then the invitation came. A keynote slot at Echelon, one of the biggest tech leadership summits in North America. Subject: Ethics, Empathy, and the Builders You Missed. I stared at the email for a long time. Nova Minds had been presenting at Echelon for 5 years straight. This time they weren't on the lineup. I was. The night before the keynote, I couldn't sleep. I walked past our office, just to look at the windows. The reflection of what we'd built. I thought about Ava. I hadn't heard from her in months. No doubt rebranding again, reshaping her story, aligning herself with whatever narrative bought her the next opportunity. She would call herself a survivor, a visionary, a mentor to young women in tech. And maybe in a twisted way she believed it. But I had stopped needing her acknowledgement a long time ago. The keynote hall was full. I stepped onto the stage in black jeans and a white linen shirt. No blazer, no badge, no corporate armor, just myself. I told the audience what it felt like to be erased, what it looked like when your ideas had someone else's name taped over them, and what happened the day I stopped apologizing for speaking my own language. Then I turned the lights down and shared the data. Not just metrics, patterns. The percentage of patents registered under managers instead of builders. The attrition rate among quiet contributors. The silent bleed of talent that the tech world kept calling normal. I ended with a slide of our Clearloop team, no titles, just faces, and the words. If your organization has never been disrupted by someone like this, ask yourself, who have you made invisible? The applause was quiet at first. Then it built. And built. Not for me. For us. The overlooked. The misquoted. The ones who had stopped waiting for credit and started building anyway. Backstage, someone handed me a sealed envelope. From the Echelon Foundation, they said. Inside, a recognition plaque. Not an award. A note. For contribution to ethical systems and equitable innovation. This cannot undo the past. But it acknowledges it. I ran my fingers over the metal. For the first time in my life, recognition didn't feel hollow. Because this time, they used my name. The strange thing about getting everything you ever wanted is realizing you don't want revenge anymore. You want recognition. Not from them. From yourself. You want to stop replaying every ignored idea, every ghosted email, every time your silence was mistaken for consent. You want peace. And that's where I found myself, not standing over ruins, but planting something new in the space they once occupied. Clearloop's latest tool, EchoMap, wasn't about profit. It was a transparency layer for data pipelines. A tool for small startups to audit their own models, spot hidden bias, and actually understand what they were building before it hit millions of users. We open-sourced it. Completely free. No catch. No dark patterns. The response? Overwhelming. VCs who once overlooked me now forwarded my press releases with glowing emojis. Ethics panels that once left me off their roster now quoted me on stage. And then of course Nova Minds came knocking. One last time. It started with a LinkedIn post from their new CEO. We're proud to announce Nova Minds' renewed commitment to transparency and builder-led innovation. I stared at the logo. They had rebranded. Again. Their new tagline? We see you. I almost laughed. Then came the email. Subject line. Request for collaboration. Nova Minds x Clearloop. It was from their legal team. Polished. Friendly. Empty. They wanted a joint paper. A public alignment. A chance to move forward. They offered money. A lot of it. I closed the laptop. Sat with it for a long time. Not because I was tempted. Because I wanted to see if any part of me still needed it. I didn't. Instead, I wrote my own letter. Not to them. To the woman I was the night I waited outside that ballroom. The one holding a plastic flute of champagne. Staring through glass while someone else thanked a room full of people for her work. You were right to walk away. Not because you were unwanted. But because you were too much for that small room. You didn't lose that night. You outgrew it. 6 months later, Nova Minds folded. Officially, it was a strategic merger. But everyone knew the truth. Their clients had moved on. Their talent had bled out. Their name, once synonymous with innovation, was now a case study in performative leadership. And Clearloop? We weren't chasing headlines. We were growing roots. One rainy Thursday, I took a quiet walk near our first office. Same street. Same cracked pavement. But this time, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I paused outside a bookstore I used to pass every morning. Inside, a new tech biography sat in the window. Invisible hands. The Builders Who Changed Everything Chapter 4 was titled, The Maya Ellison Framework, no need to read it. I had already lived it. People still ask me how I stayed so calm, how I didn't rage or burn it all down, how I stayed professional. But here's the truth. I was angry, just not at Ava, not at the company, at myself for shrinking to fit a system I could have outgrown sooner. But in the end, I didn't need to scream. I just needed to build louder than they could erase. Today my name is on a foundation. It funds researchers, underdogs, high school girls who tinker in their garage with no one to pitch to. We don't give them visibility. We give them infrastructure. And on the wall outside our new HQ, no glass barriers, no gatekeepers, there's a plaque. It reads, to the ones they told to wait outside. We didn't wait. We built.